Yo, it's ODB from OLP. This is issue 80 of Mini Truckin' Magazine. It's a special one. August 9/8. Got Bobbi Billiard on the cover. Master Image Customs. A lot to talk about. This is Wes Allison's 13th credited cover. This is also Colorado Custom Wheels, their 6th cover truck with Colorado Custom Wheels. You can see the black and white checkered floor. I recently hinted at, you can see the little mural there, shot at, I believe, Master Image Customs based upon the past photos we've seen. We got the billet grill. Just a really iconic cover in my mind. I always thought to myself, it's one of my favorite covers. Bobbi Billiard, I think, looks great on the cover. You also got the lighting here coming back to kind of inside the truck. Looks like that Wes did. That kind of lit up the subwoofers. But let's jump in here. The other key thing is the 10th anniversary preview. I think that'll play kind of a pretty big part as we get into the next issue. But here's what we've got. This is my original issue. A little bit worn, a little bit tattered. But you can see the events and everything we got going on. And then you also have the first glimpse that it's Craig Campbell's 95 S10. Of course, Bobbi Billiard and Wes Allison photo credit. Here we get one of our first throwbacks to older issues. And they detail those through this issue, which is pretty awesome. Again, issue 80. This is technically the last issue, if I remember correctly, that Mike Shartsis was the editor. And here, the editorial I remember when was actually by Tom Lutz. So that was something to a little bit different, and not sure if, how it ended, good or bad, but just kind of pointing out this was apparently the time. You could see there that editor was Shartsis, so I always look back at the column there to see, the specifics, if you will. Appreciate all you guys coming through. If you get a chance, hit follow, hit subscribe, and search OLP via any podcast app. Check us out. We've been 7+ years strong, but every Friday we have new content. Here's Partying on the Bayou. So we just saw Lomigo on the cover, so you can see there hitting the shows. Some pretty awesome trucks. I remember seeing this truck, I think, in show coverage. I don't know that I saw that at Show Fest. That was awesome. Remember seeing this on the old NC website, I believe. I always thought it was pretty cool that had the Phantom grille and the license plate all the way over to the left. You didn't really see that too often on the front, with it all the way kind of Frenched in there a little bit. Killer interior. This is Midnight Fantasies, and this is the Show and Shine, 6th annual Show and Shine. You got a Dodge there, pretty rare. You don't see too many of those done. We went to the Lakefront tour 1 year, 1 or 2 years, I want to say 1 year, and it kind of rained during that time period, but we had a great time. Speaking of that area, you got Duckman. Shout out to Carrie. It was pretty cool. Chad Luke sent me a video the other day, and then he had posted it on his social media of him, Duck cruising in the Apache. Here you got Midnight Fantasy. Shout out to them. Again, they did, I believe, a couple of shows, including this one, for a very long time. King of the Road, Tom Lutz doing some tech. You got the Godmother's ad. Here again, you can see this was my personal issue. Never really ripped these out that I can think of. Try to kind of keep them intact, so to speak. Pretty cool here. You see a bike. Bikes have just exploded. You can find awesome bikes at shows all around. I remember when MIC was slinging them. And here you see an S10 with the topper. And this says the article was, this talked about Clint Walker. I was trying to think if that was maybe Wes Allison. But if anybody knows, you can chime in there. Here you got a little bit different KMC wheel ad. The last video, one of the last videos that you saw on the channel, if you watched it, was me throwing back to street trucks all those years ago, and it was a wheel ad, a rally, I believe it was. But if you think about wheel ads, you know, to me it was important to switch them up, and they did here a little bit. And of course they had the mini truck with the Phantom Grill. It was pretty cool back in the day. You could just pick up these Phantom Grills, man. You could call one of your favorite supplier and buy those, but it's one that's definitely not easy to find. So beyond grounded, we're getting into some really good feature trucks and badass issues. This one, what I wanted to point out here is Dustin Haven, Scottsburg, Indiana. Shout out to Dustin. I got a chance to meet him at Mini Nats, and you know, he built a couple of badass trucks. I'm sure he's had his hands in a lot of them, but this was his S10. We will of course see this thing again redone. He's got the wall in it, super clean, kind of like the orange accents, and a lot of colors going on there. Some of the splatter paint deal. I dig it. I really do. Beyond grounded. And again, we'll see this one again here in the near future. Another thing I always liked too was tight wrap tweed. So you got the Alpine 7822 there, some components, and many of us got into the scene during the Topper Gang era with crazy stereos. Just great times. Here you got Power Ranger, so tech article. Again, if you haven't, please check out the podcast. Recently had Nick from Surface Art on, and it's pretty cool just to sit down with him. I met him last year, but just a great guy. Here is a fantasy. So we'll take a look at some of the insert photos here. You got the American Racing 15s. Again, Topper, that era. And clean interiors. Really dig this truck. And we can see here many attractions. That's another underrated thing about the era that a lot of us came up in is the back logos for different clubs, man. So many good ones out there. And it's cool to see some of that stuff kind of making a comeback. The hot spot. So tons of good photos here. That Mazda dough. Really dig the colors. We're going to go through all 269 issues. Again, this is issue 80 of Mini Truckin' Magazine. We would hope that you would consider subscribing. It's free. And check out OLP, like I said, via any podcast app. Free content every week. I always dug this photo, kind of that third door deal. And you got the speaker, so good kind of use of space there, some wires. And I like these layouts. You can kind of see the border. Again, kind of mixing it up some. Something we'll see here towards the back coming up next month. We didn't always see this. You can imagine that's going to play into, you know, do they have those issues or those photos or that content ready quick enough to be able to sneak peek in this issue. So we'll see something here in a minute. Here you've got Stinger. Check that out. The rollerblades. Remember that was big. Some may remember, I don't know why it's stuck in my head, when I was a kid, I'd watch ESPN Hot Summer Nights. And it was pretty rad watching those. It was surfing, skating, inline skating, BMX. Kind of, you know, pre-ESPN X Games. Now you got Nitro, Circus, and all that stuff. It's just insane. Here you've got the Sonoma. You can kind of see again. I dig it. Super clean kind of sport truck deal. Mazdas for days. Lots of good content here, and there's so many good issues left. I mean, think about it. Issue 80, we're not even halfway through. You know, 80 times 2 is 160, right? If I remember correctly. And we've got way more than that to go. Here you can see the Mini Truckin' Magazine, the windshield banner. Killer setup again with toppers and or SUVs. Good times. Now, this is one of my favorite covers of all time. You know, oftentimes people want to ask us, what's your favorite cover? Now, this one here, you can see, I don't remember taking this out. I guess I probably did at some point, or my issue maybe got misplaced. I don't recall. I want to say this was my issue, but this is Tangerine Dream. There's no place for second best. A couple things. Again, I love the Phantom Grill. You can see here just how clean it looks against that bumper. You know, that perfect spacing in there. Looks good. Wild Horse wheels. So Colorado Custom, again, their 6th cover vehicle with Colorado Custom wheels. The interior always, to me, was super tight, super clean. If you think about the seats, even the way all of the box and everything behind, it came out just great. You've got a bunch of shaved stuff there where the light switch would normally be for the headlights. Super clean bed. The taillights looked awesome. Probably one of the first trucks I saw that I was like, damn, I got to shave my taillights. I dig it as well, just without the bed welded shut. So you got that good spacing in there. You got the MIC tag. Shout out to Rob Maggi and the whole team. Just good people there. Of course, Sean Mahaney as well. And you see a little bit of the story. Got the dog going crazy in the background. So I love this here. You can see sun-kissed. So a little bit, Wes Allison kind of thinking ahead on a good spot. I assume that that's actually the sign. So it's pretty cool. And then you even have, maybe not super close in color, but again, just a good contrasting background. And I think this rear 3/4 shot's one of my favorite shots of it, just showing how low it is, especially in the back, and that awesome orange color. One of my favorite wheels, not maybe my favorite, but one of my top from Colorado there. And having an S10, those door panels were pretty plain. I always thought these looked damn good. Especially in that era, before we really saw too much craziness. You see the window switch there as well, being that they are now power windows. Another cool thing that I always thought was insane is before flat screens, you still had TVs. And we did see these in many trucks over the years, but you can see here some, I don't know, DuckTales or something like that going on. And just a real clean setup. Moving to the bed, you've got the Panasonic DVD digital video disc for those scoring at home, and the Sherwood compact disc player. So really pulling out all the stops. You got capacitors, amps, plenty of RCAs. And here I always thought was super clean. I had the same dual paddle gauge in my S10 for a good bit, driving it airbagged every day with a 1/4-inch line. It was good times. And again, you see the rear 3/4 shot there, kind of calling out Sir Michaels. And what you would kind of see, here you go, they're kind of calling out the better audio video in Wanna Park, Cali, kind of giving them a little shot. But then, of course, there is the color photo. So you kind of see that on the layouts, if they could squeeze in another photo based upon how they had the text wrapped and whatnot. Shout out to Rob Maggi, like I said, and the crew. I mean, they really killed it on this one. To me, this is one of my favorite S10s because, again, it's one that you don't see under the hood in the cover feature. That would sometimes happen. For whatever reason, they wouldn't do that. But the cool thing to me is the color, heavy on the body mods, the wheels, obviously Colorado Custom, super clean, and just a good color, good contrast, awesome shoot. And then have the full stereo, not only from the interior, but also the entire bed. I think it's really an iconic truck. It did go on later to get even more mods and craziness going on. I liked it the most in this version. I think it did go on to get, I can't remember if it was a roll cage, but it also had a lot of other stuff that took place to it, and nothing against it in that, in that version. This was just my personal favorite version of it. And what we saw here a second ago is all of the subs with the seats kind of flipped up. And then you got the Colorado Custom again, as I mentioned, 18s and 20s. So that's kind of the era when guys were going, hey, I could run a little bit bigger wheel in the back and make it look pretty dope. And that's what they did. But there's the cover truck for you. And then here's the 10th anniversary preview. This was good because if you think 88 to, 98, the summer of 98, you basically have 10 years, a 10-year span. And here they handpicked some of the iconic covers. There's Ruben Arteaga's. Shout out to the big homie. You got Ballistic, the first body drop truck on the cover. We just had Nick on, and Nick talked about how it was issue 260, I think it was, towards the end, how when he did the pull-out poster, it kind of was paying homage to a certain extent to the first cover. So that was pretty cool. So it talks about 98 marking the 10th anniversary. And then you have summer 98, or excuse me, summer 88. So it kind of gets into the individual issues, which I appreciate. I was thinking, how am I going to rattle all these off the top of my head? And then I remembered, oh yeah, I don't have to. So there's some good stuff in here, and they kind of talk about a little bit of insight to each cover. And they handpicked these. Of course, I would imagine staff or someone there, maybe one issue of each. You know, at this point, being 10 years old, those early issues probably weren't as tough for at least staff to get their hands on. Definitely sought after now, getting harder to find. We recently had Mark Zitzer on, and he talked about, you know, obtaining that first issue, and that's always a good feeling if you can get your hands on it, if you're looking to complete your collection. The good thing is you don't have to complete your collection because we're here in 4K. I think the early versions of these, I was not in 4K. I was going back earlier, checking something, and I saw that it was like 1080. So maybe one day we'll go bump those up. But for now, we are definitely in 4K. And you can bump those settings up as you need on your browser or app. Tons of mini trucks, plenty to go through here. Talked to a buddy of mine the other day that is bringing an old cover truck home. Can't really talk about it yet, but more to come on it. Aaron's Addiction, so pretty cool Yoda. And the Isuzu I saw over the weekend had the same kind of drip logos in the upholstery. Here you see Beyond Sea Level. If I remember correctly, they threw a show. I've been working on a video a pretty long time that ties into that, that hopefully I'll finish one day and publish here. Trying to work on also ODB's Corner, which kind of ties into pop culture, mini trucks, lowriders, all of that stuff. And trying to work on that stuff as well. But for now, I'm keeping the pedal stomped, as you guys know, with content here on YouTube. You get the Colorado Custom ad with the Wild Horse wheels we saw on the cover. It's definitely a nice little advertisement for someone looking to get wheels. I fell in love with Colorado Custom many years ago, meeting them at a show, talking to Bill, I believe it was. I have an old card of his, and just really loved their wheels for a long time, and that's what I ended up running on Bada Bing. So this is pretty epic here. So again, the famous Chop Shop Tacoma, one of my favorite feature trucks ever. There's more to talk about with it based upon an upcoming issue. So we'll do that. But this was kind of cool. So coming next month, they were able to hint at that was coming. And you can imagine a newer style truck that's going to definitely drive possibly some sales. Definitely about, you know, or definitely amongst the mini truckers. Here you got Clint Walker with Wired. You got the West Coast Customs ad on the right, and then Roadmaster. Lower Than Dirt, a mini truck show with a South Texas flavor. Check it out. Freddy, we're getting ready to come up on, not Friday the 13th, but Halloween. Top rated entertainers kept the crowds jumping. Here you got some wires and a crazy setup there. If you guys watch to the end, I'm going to have you post an emoji to let me know that you guys watched to the end. I forgot to mention that at the beginning. Here's For Sale, ready to move on. This is a super clean hardbody. I dig the colors. I also like the engine bay. Super clean. Tom Lutz, Courtney Hollowell, and Chris Schmidt. Shout out to Chris. Rest in peace, Courtney Hollowell. Shot this one. Very thankful that we have all of these issues to kind of go back and our recorded history. You could just imagine if Steve Stillwell and Alan Paradise and those guys weren't able to convince the higher-ups to branch off to mini trucking. I don't know what we would be doing. Speaking of that, I was looking back at the 5th anniversary issue earlier that had the first NC cover, Brian Gendro's, the first NC truck on the cover. And, excuse me, Steve Stillwell had wrote about, 5 years had went by and how the magazine Truckin' had exploded. But then when Mini Truckin' came out, they were able to spin it out, into its own publication, how awesome it was and how the sales were going great. And think about this is 5 years later, so a total of 10 in. You got Pro Hopper, so I wanted to do that quick video call out. I did a couple social media posts about this van. This was, I believe Tom owned it originally. A few people chimed in, including Shondell, Brian Gendro. I believe it was Tom's, at Crazy Customs. Gendro helped body drop it or body dropped it. And this one changed colors. It was originally green, painted by Cal Concepts. It was then changed to yellow with the original graphic and then to orange. I don't know if Craig Elder owned it when it was yellow, but I do know that he did acquire it, and that, of course, graced the cover. One of 3 Astra vans to grace the cover. I did not spend much time on the last video, Falcon. So on the last video, I should say, I did spend a lot of time on the rear cover. Slam, bam, thank you, ma'am. This is a Falcon tire ad, and I remember running Falcons for a good minute on my S10. Probably thankful for this advertising for that. But again, Wes Allison, 13th credited cover. I say that because, maybe they were at other cover shoots, but if we look back at the facts, he's number 13, so lucky 13 for Wes. Colorado Custom, number 6, so that's pretty damn good. You can see, oftentimes the reflection gives you a little bit of insight. Are there guys standing back there? Who's back there? Don't see a lot, but some damn nice polished billet wheels. Again, Bobbi Billiard. I did see Bobbi Billiard at Nopi 99 or 2000. And I have tagged her, I think, 2 or 3 times over the course of time. She has liked both. Not only was she on this cover, she also was on a tailgate cover with the blue Isuzu that, ironically enough, was at Mini Nats this year. They had that issue on the dash, and of course, Bobbi Billiard's on it. You guys remember Bobbi Billiard? What about the subs, though? Appreciate all the support. Again, if you can, like, subscribe, consider leaving a remark or a comment, rather. That helps us out. Make sure you search OLP via your favorite podcast app. This is the 10th anniversary preview, issue number 80. Stay on the rise. We got you. Peace.